Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Sunday, February the 21st. Going to run through Sunday's 7-game slate, break it all down team by team. We'll go through each game, we'll talk about each game, look at each team, talk about what stands out to me looking at this slate the night before. I am recording this video on Saturday night, so these are just my early thoughts, what does stand out early on in the night. Obviously, things can change, so stay tuned for updates throughout the day. As always, most likely, not sure yet, but I most likely will be live streaming this afternoon. Not sure what time, probably around 4 o'clock Eastern. I will try and go live this afternoon. We can talk through tonight's slate once again. I can answer all your guys' questions. There's been a lot of new faces coming to the live streams lately, so I do appreciate all you guys tuning into the live streams. Like I said, probably going to try and go live sometime this afternoon for tonight's slate, break everything down with you guys, answer your questions. So yeah, tune into the live stream, hit the like button on this video guys, hit the subscribe button, and be sure to click the notification bell as well, so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You also will get notified every time I do go live. And also, if you would like to check out my Patreon content, I do have a lot of additional content on Patreon. I have my core plays, my cash and GPP sheets, our Discord chat, a lot of stuff, a lot of additional content is posted over there. So if that is something that does interest you, if you want to check that out, you can. Link down below in the description. But let's go ahead and start off and take a look with the OKC and Cleveland game. So with OKC today, really there's no injuries to mention outside of George Hill's going to remain out. This team's starting to get fully healthy again. There's not really much value from this team like there has been, at least there was, a couple weeks ago. Now they're fully healthy. I think SGA's, the guy that I would get to if I was going to play anyone from OKC. He's still pretty affordable, 8,100. This isn't a slate where I really think I'm going to be going out of my way to play SGA. The Cavs have been, better defensively this season. They play pretty slow. I don't like too much from OKC today. Like I said, if I was going to go to anyone, it would be SGA. But I don't see much that I like from the Thunder. I think this is probably going to be a team I just kind of avoid. Not much that really stands out on the OKC side of this game. Now on Cleveland, I do have some interest in some Cleveland guys. We know Andre Drummond, Kevin Love, Larry Nance, and Taurean Prince are all going to remain out today. So that does give us some potential plays from Cleveland. Colin Sexton at his price point, I'm not the biggest fan of. I think there's other guys priced around them that I would probably rather go to. Colin Sexton is pretty cheap on Yahoo. He was pretty cheap last slate. He's cheap again today, $27. I don't mind him over there, but again, he doesn't really stand out as a top play. But I do like Jared Allen quite a bit. 7,100 on DK, I still think is a pretty affordable price tag for Jared Allen. On Yahoo, he's also very affordable over there, coming in at $27. He's definitely one of my favorite centers, in the mid-range. I think now that, Andre Drummond's out, we're going to see big minutes from Jared Allen on a nightly basis. They've been dealing with some blowouts lately, but we did see the game against Denver somewhat stay close, and we got 34 minutes from Jared Allen in that game. And this game against OKC, it should be close as well. We should get 34, 35 minutes from Allen tonight. He's been a very productive player when he gets minutes. He's a guy that can go out there and put up, 20 and 10 almost any night. He's been getting assists this year as well. He's a guy that can always get those defensive stats. He's a great shot blocker. So the upside is there for Jared Allen now that he's playing 34, 35 minutes a night. I still like him even at 7,100. I think people are probably going to shy away from him at that price point, but I think he still has the upside to get there even at 7,100. So definitely like Jared Allen on this slate. Darius Garland, I don't mind at his price point. 5,600 is pretty affordable for him. Again, I think there's probably other guys I'd rather go to at guard today, but don't mind Darius Garland. Cedi Osman, I still do have a good amount of interest in as well, though. 5,500 on DK. Price came up, but I think he's still for sure in play. And on Yahoo, his price went up there as well, but again, I think he's still in play over there. $16 on Yahoo. So with Taurean Prince out and Larry Nance out as well, Kevin Love obviously out, we're seeing Cedi Osman basically start. He started their last 2 games against Golden State and Denver. His minutes weren't very high last game against Denver, only played 26 minutes, but he was still very productive in that time. Had 32 Draftkings points. He's been a productive player this year with Cleveland. He can average about a fantasy point per minute. The minutes should continue to be there. I think he's likely to play around 30 minutes a night while Taurean Prince remains out. And we've seen, they're willing to give Osman more minutes than that if he's playing well. I'm really not sure why he didn't play much last game because, the game before that against Golden State, he played 35 minutes. But I think the minutes will be there. They're just really thin right now. They don't have a ton of bodies. Osman's a productive player, like I said, when he does get minutes at 5,500. I don't mind paying this price tag for him when he is playing over 30 minutes. So definitely like Cedi Osman here. He is a guy that can do a little bit of everything. I don't want to say he can stuff the stat sheet, but he can definitely give you 15 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, be a really solid play at his price point. So that's kind of where I'm looking to from Cleveland today. I don't have too much interest in anyone else on the Cavs. So moving on to the next game, Minnesota and New York. So in Minnesota, we know that D'Angelo Russell is going to remain out. With him out, that benefits Malik Beasley, that benefits Ricky Rubio. Both those guys are kind of priced appropriately, though, at this point. I don't think either one really stand out as top plays today. I think Malik Beasley, he has always been a guy that has upside. At 6,700, he's not going to project insanely well for that salary. But again, he's someone you could get to in tournaments if you are playing multiple lineups. Karl-Anthony Towns, on this slate, I think there's other studs I'd rather pay up for, like Jokic, like Giannis. Those are guys I'd rather get to. I don't think this is really a slate I'm going to be looking at Towns much. Like this Minnesota team, I just really haven't been playing many guys from Minnesota lately. I don't think I'm really going to get to anyone on Minnesota today, especially, if I'm only playing one lineup. I doubt I play any Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards, he had that crazy dunk last game, but even like for DFS, he just hasn't been good lately. I think Karl-Anthony Towns coming back is probably hurting Anthony Edwards. He's not able to get, as much usage, as many shot attempts. He has been shooting the ball pretty poorly lately, but again, I don't think I really want to go to him at 5,900 on this slate when there's other guys in his price range I'd rather look to. So Minnesota, not that appealing of a team for me. Now on the Knicks side, it is a very appealing matchup for the Knicks here. Minnesota, they've been really bad defensively this year. They do play pretty fast. I think Julius Randle at 9,400 looks like a very solid option. I would definitely rather have Randle at his price tag over Towns. Towns is 9,500, so give me Randle all day over Towns in a better matchup. But at this point, we know what we're getting from Randle on a nightly basis. He's going to play probably 38, close to 40 minutes if it's a close game. He was obviously very bad last game against Orlando, but I don't want to knock too much against him. I mean, that was kind of a bad matchup. It wasn't, it really wasn't a good spot for Randle. Now against this Minnesota team that doesn't play any defense, that plays fast, we could get one of those big 55, 60-point games from Randle tonight. I do like him a good amount as a pay-up option. I think he's definitely a strong option at the power forward position if you are spending up. But outside of Randle, you're really kind of throwing darts with all these other Knicks guys. They've just been spreading out the minutes so much. We haven't really seen RJ Barrett do much lately. His price has come way down. With the price down to 5,400, I think that does make him appealing. Am I confident in RJ Barrett? No, but like we saw against Atlanta, he still has some upside, can go out there and put up, 35, 36 DK points. He'd probably be the next guy I would look to from the Knicks, but Noel, Peyton, Rose, I just don't think they're really guys I want to go to on this slate. I know they're all pretty cheap, but they just kind of split up the minutes so much. Noel, he's going to get about 30 minutes, but he hasn't been as productive as I would like. Even as a starter, the production's kind of been down for Noel lately. It is a good matchup, though. Elfrid Payton, again, he's only going to play about 22, 24 minutes. They've just been splitting up the point guard minutes so much that it kind of hurts. All these guys, no one's really getting big minutes out of the 3-point guards. So, yeah, for me on the Knicks, it's a good matchup, and I like the matchup for these guys, but I still think I can only probably get to Randle or Barrett. I don't see anyone else on the Knicks I'll really be looking to today. So, moving on to the next game, Detroit and Orlando. Now, Detroit, they are a team that does give us some value today. We do already know that DeLon Wright is doubtful. He got injured in their last game. I'm pretty sure he was not able to return. He's listed as doubtful today. So with DeLon Wright doubtful, I think that does give us one of the best values right now in Dennis Smith Jr. I am assuming that Dennis Smith starts in place of Wright, and if he does, for only $4K on Draftkings, he's just too cheap. And on Yahoo, he's also very cheap over there, coming in at $11. Dennis Smith Jr., he has shown, he can be productive when he does get minutes. He hasn't played a ton this year. He didn't really play much when he was with the Knicks. But last game, he got 23 minutes against Memphis. Obviously, that was the game that Wright got hurt in. He had 23 DK points. He had 3 steals and 3 blocks in that game, which is obviously a little bit of an outlier. But he did shoot the ball terribly. He didn't make a single shot. I think if Smith Jr. starts, he's probably getting around 30 minutes. He's not a point per minute player, but he's close to it. He can give you about 0.85, 0.9 fantasy points per minute. I like him a lot at 4K. I think, right now he projects as one of the better value plays on the slate, assuming he is the starter. He's definitely the guy that benefits most with DeLon Wright out because, you look at this Detroit point guard situation. Killian Hayes is still injured. Derrick Rose is no longer on the team. They don't really have a ton of point guards, to back up Dennis Smith. So I think the minutes are going to be there for sure. But then Jeremy Grant, Mason Plumlee, at their price points, I don't think either one really stand out as top plays today. If I had to go to somebody other than Dennis Smith, I think it would be Jeremy Grant. 7,600, I think he's viable if you want to pay up at small forward. He's not been nearly as good lately as he was at the beginning of the year, but still the upside's there. We've seen Jeremy Grant put up big games. The matchup isn't great, but he's someone you could consider maybe in tournaments as a lower-owned option. I think with DeLon Wright likely to be out, with him doubtful, that is going to open up more playmaking opportunities for Josh Jackson. I assume Josh Jackson will still come off the bench, but he should get a few more minutes off the bench. He should get a lot of time at point guard whenever Dennis Smith is off the floor. He's probably going to be like the backup point guard. He's going to be the guy that has the ball in his hands when Smith Jr. is not on the floor. So definitely like Josh Jackson. I wish he was a little bit cheaper, but even at $5,800, if he's going to be the primary, backup point guard, I think he does have upside here. He is still pretty cheap on Yahoo, I believe. Yeah, he's $17 at small forward, so you could definitely look to Josh Jackson there. He's the next guy I'd look to. So really, on Detroit, it's definitely Dennis Smith Jr., my favorite guy to target, assuming DeLon Wright will be out. And then Jeremy Grant, Josh Jackson, I think are also in play. But that really does it for the Pistons for me. Now moving on to Orlando. I don't really like too much on the Magic either today. Vooch, I think at his price point, just doesn't really stand out as a top play. I'd rather get to Jokic. I'd rather get to Giannis. Terrence Ross, there's no way I'm paying nearly $7K for Terrence Ross. I don't care how good he's been. Just can't pay that price tag for him. Coming off the bench, even with Aaron Gordon out, I just don't expect Ross to be someone that you want at $7K or at nearly $7K. Evan Fournier, I think he's the one guy that could be viable. He did have a really good game last game against the Warriors. 32 minutes, 47 Draftkings points. He shot the ball incredibly well, which obviously, I don't know if we can predict that or if we can expect that to happen every game, but the opportunity is going to be there. He's second on the team in usage with Aaron Gordon and Jonathan Isaac off the floor. Markelle Fultz, out as well. I do like Fournier at 6,300. Again, I don't think he really is someone I'm going out of my way to play, but as a last piece in, totally fine with Evan Fournier, but I don't really like too much else on the Magic today. Michael Carter-Williams is obviously going to start with Markelle Fultz out. He's going to get about 30 to 32 minutes, but I don't want to play him at 5,500. He just hasn't shown the upside at that price point to really be worth that price. So yeah, it's really just Fournier and not too much else from the Magic today. Moving on to the next game, the Sixers and the Raptors. So on the Sixers today, this team's fully healthy. Ben Simmons is expected back for this game. Ben Simmons was probable last game, and he actually wound up being out. I'm assuming he's good to go today, though. He is listed as probable. He's expected to play. So with the Sixers kind of fully healthy, with all their stars playing, really the only guy I would look to would be Joel Embiid. And still on this slate, I don't really think Embiid's going to be a top play for me because I'd rather get to Giannis. I'd rather get to Jokic. Embiid obviously had a monster game last game, and I think he benefited with Ben Simmons out. Now that this team has everyone back, I don't really like anything on the Sixers. Everyone's just kind of overpriced. Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid have both been priced up, for Simmons being out. And now that Simmons is back, I don't want to pay those price tags for them. I think Simmons at 9,200, I don't really like that much. Curry's been priced up when Simmons was out. Danny Green, even at 4,200, I don't really like. So, yeah, the Sixers honestly are kind of just a fade for me. I don't really like any Sixers on this slate. Not a team I'm really going to be looking to, honestly. Now, on the Raptors side, the Raptors, they are a pretty appealing team because we do know that Kyle Lowry is once again doubtful to play. He's not expected to play today. On Friday, I got burned by Van Vliet and Siakam. Once Lowry was announced out, I played both Van Vliet and Siakam. I was going into the slate assuming Lowry wasn't going to play, and he didn't. And Van Vliet and Siakam both were pretty bad last game, especially Van Vliet. He only had 33 DK points in 37 minutes. It was just a really weird game. He shot terribly. He shot the ball 4 of 20 from the field. The freaking Raptors only scored 86 points. I don't know if the Raptors have scored less than that all season. The Raptors as a team were just so bad last game, outside of Norman Powell. Siakam wasn't great either. He had 37 DK points in 35 minutes. I'm fine going back to them, though. With Kyle Lowry expected to be out, the guys that are going to benefit are definitely Van Vliet and Siakam. We should expect them to play a ton of minutes, close to 40 minutes if the game is close. The matchup isn't great, but those are going to be the two guys that dominate the usage. So even though they burned me last slate, I'm totally fine going right back to Van Vliet and Siakam today, assuming that Lowry is going to be out. Norman Powell, he obviously benefits with Lowry out as well, and we've seen that over their last two games, 44 and 48 Draftkings points. At 6,900, that is a pretty hefty price tag for Norman Powell. He's close to 7K. If I can get up to Van Vliet or Siakam, I'd much rather play them. But I think Powell is still viable just because he's shown the upside. He's a guy that can be productive when he gets minutes. He's going to have more opportunity to score with a high-usage player like Lowry off the floor. So don't mind Powell either. Chris Boucher started last game, but I'd assume he's going to be back to the bench now that OJ Anunoby is available to play. So I don't really like Boucher that much. Same with OG. I don't really like him that much at 5,600. He was on a minutes restriction last game that he played in, only played 27 minutes. Maybe if he's back to full strength, if he's going to play 35 minutes, he could be viable. But really, I think on the Raptors, it's Van Vliet, it's Siakam, and I think Powell's a fine option as well. But yeah, it's just really Van Vliet and Siakam for me. But moving on to the next game, Denver and Atlanta. So on Denver today, this team, they're still dealing with some injuries. JaMychal Green has been ruled out for this game, while Paul Millsap is also out. Gary Harris, PJ Dozier are both going to remain out. So with JaMychal Green out, he is obviously the guy that has been starting in place of Paul Millsap. I'm not exactly sure what the Nuggets are going to do with their starting lineup. I'd assume that it's probably going to be Jokic, Monte Morris, or it's probably going to be Jamal Murray, Monte Morris, Michael Porter. Like, they'll probably just slide Michael Porter down to power forward, and then they'll start Monte Morris. I doubt, Zeke Nahi's going to start or anything. But, with JaMychal Green and Paul Millsap both being out, that does open up some minutes in the front court at the power forward spot. As a punt play, I don't mind Zeke Nahi at 3,200. If he were to start, I'd be a lot more confident in him. Even coming off the bench, I really don't know what his minutes are going to look like here. He only played 6 minutes last game, even after JaMychal Green got hurt. I can't remember how many minutes Green played last game. He only played 1 minute last game. So basically, JaMychal Green and Paul Millsap were both out. I mean, I know Green played, but he only played 1 minute. And Zeke Nahi still only played 6 minutes. So, yeah, that's obviously a concern. He's super, super cheap, though. He could be viable since Green is out. Campazzo did get a good amount of minutes off the bench. I think he's someone that will benefit with JaMychal Green out. We saw Monte Morris get a good amount of minutes as well, 29 minutes. I don't think I really want to go to any of these Denver values. I don't love really any of them. I think guys like Nahi, Hampton, or maybe punt plays that are going to be low owned you could target. But really, on the Nuggets, I think it's just Jokic and Murray. And I think Michael Porter Jr., even though he's been bad lately, I think he is viable as well. Without JaMychal Green, without Paul Millsap, they're just going to be forced to play Michael Porter. They really don't have a choice. I think he's going to play over 30 minutes. He's been better lately than he was earlier, in the week. Last week, he was just so bad in those games against Boston, against the Lakers. But he's been better lately against Washington. Had 28 DK points in 31 minutes. Last game against Cleveland, 32 DK points in 33 minutes. He's still affordable at 5,900. It's a good matchup against Atlanta. I think MPJ is viable on this slate. Jokic and Murray, though, I like a lot. Jokic, I'd probably still prefer Giannis on this slate, but I think Jokic is a very strong pay-up option. If you can pay up at center, he's obviously one of the best plays at the top if you can get to him. Jamal Murray's been playing insanely well lately. He's been just completely on another level as of late. He's kind of looked like the player that he was in the bubble. Last 2 games, 61 and 68 Draftkings points, played 40 in 38 minutes. If we're going to be getting close to 40 minutes from Jamal Murray in a good matchup against Atlanta, I still think he's viable at 8,600. He's not going to project well for this salary, but he's obviously shown the upside, and right now the usage on this team is just being dominated by Jokic and Murray. You're seeing both those guys put up big games every night. I still do like Jamal Murray, even with the price tag up. I do like him a lot on Yahoo. If you play over there, he is still very affordable. He's only $31. Definitely fine playing Murray at that price point. I think, at the point guard position as a whole, Jamal Murray probably is one of the better options at point guard today on Yahoo. But, yeah, I think that does it for the Nuggets. Really, Jokic, Murray, and Porter Jr. are the guys I like most. Not too much interest in anyone else. I think everyone else on this team is just kind of lower owned dart throws. Even if Monte Morris starts, I don't really like him at that much at his price point. Same with Campazzo. Zeke Nahi, should get more minutes, but will he? Probably not. He didn't last game. So, yeah. We can go ahead and move on to the other side of this game with the Hawks. So, on the Hawks today, there isn't much I like outside of, a potential value play that we will talk about. But Trae Young, 9,700. At this price point, I think he's just more of a contrarian, low-owned option. Not someone I'd be really getting to, in cash games or anything. There's just other guys I'd rather pay for. Capella, kind of the same thing. He's been a lot better lately. He had a big game last game against Boston. 58 DraftKings points in 31 minutes. We've seen monster games like that from Capella this season. His price tag has come up, so I don't think he's going to really project well for this salary. I think he is going to be low-owned once again. He's been low-owned lately. Capella, Trae Young, I think are both low-owned tournament options. John Collins, his price is starting to come down. He looks appealing because of the price point, but he's just been so bad lately. It's really hard to trust John Collins right now, even at only 6,500. So I don't really think I'm going to go to him. It's just really Capella, Young as lower-owned tournament plays. I do have some interest in Cam Reddish, though, as a value. So Cam Reddish is only 4,900 on DK, and he is very cheap on Yahoo as well. Looking at the small forward position, Cam Reddish only $12. I think if you're paying down at small forward, he definitely looks like one of the better values. So he's been getting big minutes lately, and I think he is going to continue to get big minutes in the starting lineup while DeAndre Hunter does remain out. Last 3 games, he's played over 30 minutes, 36, 34, and 31. And he's been pretty productive as well, 30, 29, 26 DK points. Last game, he wasn't great with the production. He kind of got lucky getting 5 steals and a block, but this is someone that can be, somewhat productive when he does get minutes. And like I said, the minutes are going to continue to be there. He's still pretty affordable on both sides, especially on Yahoo. I think that's where I like him more today. But even on Draftkings, I'm totally fine with Reddish at 4,900. I think we're kind of desperate for value right now. Outside of Dennis Smith Jr., there's really no standout value plays on this slate. So Reddish, I'm totally fine going to as a cheap option under 5K. I played him on Friday against Boston. I'll be right back on him today, especially on Yahoo. That's where I think he really looks good as a value. But going ahead and moving on to the next game, the Nets and the Clippers. So with the Nets, we know that Kevin Durant is going to remain out for this game. Really on the Nets, for me, it's just the two big guys, Kyrie and James Harden. I don't really have too much interest in anyone else on this team. We know the usage is going to be dominated by those top two guys. The matchup isn't great. The Clippers are a really good defensive team. They do have Paul George and Kawhi both back, but I don't really care when it comes to guys like Harden and Kyrie. We know they're going to play monster minutes. We know the usage is going to be there. Harden, I think, is right up there with Jokic and Giannis in terms of my favorite pay-up options. I think I prefer Giannis over Harden. I think I prefer Harden over Jokic, though, so I'd probably rank those top studs, Giannis, Harden, Jokic. Harden he's getting all the opportunity right now. He's stuffing the stat sheet. He's contributing in all categories. Legit has triple-double upside every night right now. I like Harden a lot at 10,600, and Kyrie, I think, is very affordable as well, 8,700. I know he was bad last game against the Lakers, but without KD, we do get a big usage bump for Kyrie as well. He is way more productive when he's on the floor. 8,700, that's still probably too cheap for Kyrie. So him, Harden, both really good plays. Nothing else I want to go to from Brooklyn, though, outside of those two guys. Now, moving on to the Clippers, this is kind of the same thing. It's really the top two guys and nothing else for me. I think Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, they're both just lower-owned contrarian options. I'd rather get to the Brooklyn guys over these two. Like, I'd rather play Harden over Kawhi. I'd rather play, I'd rather play Kyrie over PG. But we know the upside both Kawhi and PG have. We know they're going to dominate the usage on this team. It is a really good matchup. Brooklyn's been bad defensively this year. They do play fast. Like, I don't really want to go to anyone else on the Clippers because all the other guys have been priced up for the injuries lately. Like, while PG and Kawhi were out, Lou Williams got priced up a ton. Same with, Marcus Morris. There's really no value I like on the Clippers today. So, yeah, I think it's really just the two big guys, like the studs in this game. Harden, Kyrie, Kawhi, PG, and nothing else from this Clippers and Nets game. So, moving on to the last game of the night, Sacramento and Milwaukee. This is definitely one of the more appealing games on the slate and one we're definitely going to have to keep an eye on when it comes to injuries. So on Saturday night, for the Kings, we did get word once again that Harrison Barnes and Rashawn Holmes were both ruled out. While Glenn Robinson, he was also out for the Kings. We saw their starting lineup be De'Aaron Fox, Corey Joseph, Buddy Hield, Marvin Bagley, and they actually started Hassan Whiteside at center on Saturday. I don't know what's going to happen today. We don't have any update yet on Barnes or Holmes or Robinson. If they are all out again, I think we can look to go to guys like Whiteside, like Marvin Bagley. Now, Marvin Bagley, they said he was going to be on a minutes limit. So, and once we got word that Whiteside was starting, I swapped to Whiteside over Marvin Bagley, and that just went terribly. Marvin Bagley had a huge game. He played 35 freaking minutes, had 48 Draftkings points. Hassan Whiteside, he was pretty good in limited minutes, but he got in some foul trouble. He only played 16 minutes. Like, I know he had a bad game, but if Whiteside is starting again, I am totally going to go right back to Whiteside. Like, he is just too cheap if he is starting. I think if he didn't get in foul trouble, he would have played more minutes, but, the foul trouble obviously got him, and Luke Walton just chose not to play him after that, especially with how well Bagley was playing. They just chose to play Bagley at center. But yeah, we'll just have to keep an eye on the injuries here. De'Aaron Fox, though, like these top guys, Fox, Hield, Halliburton, like Hield and Halliburton, I don't think I'll have too much interest in at their price points. But De'Aaron Fox, at 7,700, he is definitely way too cheap. I liked him a lot on Saturday. He was 8K. Price tag came down even more. I know he didn't have a great game Saturday, but he played 40 minutes. Even on the back-to-back, I assume we get about 38, 40 minutes from Fox today if the game is close. He's still too cheap, so definitely like De'Aaron Fox at 7,700. And then, Whiteside, Bagley, I'm going to like a lot, again, if Barnes and Holmes are out. I'd assume, with Bagley playing 35 minutes Saturday, I'd assume the minutes restriction's gone at this point, and he can play big minutes now moving forward. But like Corey Joseph, he started, but I don't really have that much interest in him. Just not going to be that productive in the starting lineup playing alongside other high-usage guys. He did play a ton of minutes, but he wasn't that productive. So, yeah, that kind of does it for Sacramento for me. I think it's definitely Fox, Whiteside, and Bagley, assuming that Barnes and Holmes are both out. Now, if Barnes and Holmes both play, really the only guy I'll be looking to on Sacramento is Fox, and probably nothing else from the Kings. But now moving on to the Milwaukee side, so we'll start off with the top two guys here, which are really the two guys I only have that much interest, or I really only have interest in, not much interest in anyone else. Giannis, though, at 11K, I think if I can fit him in, he looks like one of the best pay-up options on the slate. 11K on DK, $55 on Yahoo. I think he is the guy. I do want to try and get in at the top today if I can fit him in. You know, right now there isn't a ton of great value outside of Dennis Smith Jr. We'll have to wait and see if there's any value that opens up as the day goes on. But yeah, I mean, it's a great spot for Giannis against this Kings team that, you know, does play really fast. They're playing at one of the fastest paces in the league this year. They're also a very bad defensive team. You know, I do worry about maybe a blowout here, especially with the Kings on a back-to-back. I don't know if we have a spread yet in this game. Yeah, okay, so right now Milwaukee is favored by 10.5. I mean, yeah, that's a pretty big number. You know, blowout's obviously concerned, but the Bucks really, as a team, haven't been that good lately. They've been, you know, they've been losing games they should be winning. They've been, you know, teams like OKC, they've been keeping it close with OKC, or OKC's been keeping it close with them. So I don't know if a blowout should be too much of a concern. Just even if it is a blowout, at this point we know if it is going to be a blowout that it's going to be because Giannis is just putting up a massive game. Like, the Bucks don't have really that much in terms of scoring outside of Giannis and Middleton right now, because we do know that, you know, Jrue Holiday is out. So at 11K, Giannis is my favorite pay-up option on the slate. He's going to get 36 to 38 minutes if it's a close game. We've seen the massive upside that he has, over 70 fantasy points in 3 of his last 4. Love Giannis on the slate. I'm going to try and fit him in if I can. He's my favorite stud on the board. You know, Chris Middleton, I really don't know what to do with Chris Middleton. He's been so bad lately. He was okay last game, but still wasn't great for his price point. You know, the matchup is really good. Again, I think if you're playing Chris Middleton, you're just hoping that, you know, he finally puts up that big game. We know the upside is still there, but obviously there's something going on right now. He just hasn't been good these last 4 games. Still, I think he is viable because of how good of a matchup it is, and just because we know that the usage on this Milwaukee team, while Jrue Holiday is out, is going to be dominated by Giannis and Middleton. But like these secondary guys like Bobby Portis, DiVincenzo, Brook Lopez, like I just don't really like any of these guys on Milwaukee today. I don't think any of them stand out as top plays. Like last game, DJ Augustin, he moved into the starting lineup over Bryn Forbes. He did play 32 minutes, had 23 DK points. I guess if he starts again, you know, he could be a value play worth considering because he did get a ton of minutes and he's only 3,800 still. So I actually wouldn't mind Augustin as a value play if he's starting. But that really does it for Milwaukee today. I think, you know, Giannis, Middleton I like, and then if Augustin starts again, he's viable. But that does it for Milwaukee, and that does it for all 7 games today, guys. So I hope you did enjoy this video. Nice little Sunday slate. Not sure yet if I'll be live this afternoon, but just keep an eye on the channel around 4 o'clock Eastern time. I may go live, may be able to break down the slate once again with you guys. If there's any news that comes out throughout the day, as always, we can touch on that in the live stream. But yeah, good luck on this slate, guys. Thanks for watching the video. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Be sure to click the notification bell as well. Turn on those notifications so you get notified when I upload, you get notified when I go live. And also be sure to check out my Patreon content, link down below in the description. If you do want additional content from me, if you want to see more that I have to offer, you can check out the Patreon, link down below. But best of luck on this slate. Good luck, guys. Appreciate you watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.